Sure. On you. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's election forum featuring the race for the Pueblo County Coroner's position. My name is Steve Henson. I'm the managing editor at the Pueblo Chieftain newspaper, one of the sponsors for tonight's events. Helping us sponsor the event tonight is Action 22, the 2020 Commission's Governance Task Force, Pueblo Community College's Center for New Media, and of course the beautiful Pueblo Memorial Hall. The format for tonight's event is each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves to you, and then we'll do a series of questions in which we will alternate answers, and they'll have an opportunity for a rebuttal in case of a disagreement or if they just have further points to make. After about 35 or 40 minutes, we'll wrap it up and let each candidate have a couple of minutes to summarize their thoughts. The questions that we'll be asking tonight were submitted by readers of the Chieftain. We will not be taking questions from the audience. To be honest, we've had some real bad experiences doing that in the past, and you all know how polarized politics have become, so we're just not going to put the politicians in that position. We encourage you to support your candidate. Feel free to hoop and holler and clap and so forth. That's great. But we would discourage you from in any way impeding the other person's point of view or their opportunity to speak freely without being ridiculed, heckled, things thrown at them, that sort of thing. So we're in Pueblo. We love our politics, but I know we'll behave. So we did the coin flip, and Brian won that. He chose to conclude this forum, so that means that opening remarks will be by Eric Sorenson. Eric?
Thank you, Steve. My name is Eric Sorenson. I am the Democratic candidate for Pueblo County Coroner. I'd like to talk a little bit about my work experience. I've been working for the Pueblo County Coroner's Office for about 4 years now as a deputy investigator. I also have about 20 years of medical experience as a paramedic. I currently work at St. Mary Corwin, Flight for Life, so if you've seen the orange helicopter, that's probably me. I am also a volunteer. I volunteer for the Pueblo County Sheriff's Office as a member on their tactical team. I provide medical expertise for the SWAT team. I'm also a father. I have 4 daughters. That's probably the toughest job. Ages from 14 all the way down to 1. The coroner's office is kind of a unique office. It's a hybrid of sorts of medical and law enforcement, and I feel I am the only candidate that possesses those qualifications of not only medical but law enforcement. I want to be the Pueblo County coroner because I feel that my experience in the medical field, not only that, but the experience that I have with the Pueblo County Coroner's Office will allow me to take these next 4 years and maintain the integrity of the Coroner's Office, the same that it's been for the past 37 years. Thank you.
And we'll now have opening remarks from Brian Cotter. Brian?
Good evening, and thank you. It's a pleasure for me to be here this evening. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Action 22, PCC Media, the 2020 Commission, and the Pueblo Chieftain for sponsoring this and having us here tonight. I'm looking forward to this event immensely. We're able to stand up here and discuss the qualifications of being coroner tonight because of what's quite honestly a bit of a unique situation in Pueblo County. Mr. Kramer, who has served this county admirably for the last 37 years, has decided to retire. He has built a wonderful team to operate the Pueblo County Coroner's Office, and I've been proud to be a part of that team for the last 17 years. So we all owe him a debt of gratitude for his 37 years of service as coroner to Pueblo County, and I thank him for the opportunity to be a part of that team. As for myself, I was raised in Trinidad. I've lived here, been a small businessman here in Pueblo for the last 25 years. I have spent literally an entire professional career serving the deceased as well as their families. To demonstrate that, I would reminisce to a time at 10 years old, growing up in Los Animas County, when the coroner's duties were rotated among the local funeral homes, and I'd ride with my dad out to respond to the needs of the coroner's office. I have to admit, I probably wasn't much help at the time, but it was an interesting experience. I have brought that forward to the point where, like I say, I've served the Pueblo County Coroner's Office for 17 years and the families of Southern Colorado in the commercial side of the funeral business for the last 25 years from right here in Pueblo. The experiences, the commitment that I've made to this profession, wide and varied. From ground zero in New York City after 9/11 to the POW MIA laboratory in Hawaii. I have traveled great distances to serve the people, and I would be proud to have the opportunity to continue that service to the citizens of Pueblo.
Okay. We'll now begin the question and answer session, and Brian, you'll handle this one first. And both of you have already addressed this to an extent. What experience do you have in dealing with law enforcement agencies, as that is such an important part of the coroner's job?
Well, over the last 17 years dealing with law enforcement agencies, it happens to us in my capacity with the office in one format or another, almost on a daily basis. A couple of things I've learned in my experiences, particularly probably in New York City as well as in Louisiana following Katrina, is that there is not a challenge too large or a problem too big that when separate agencies come together and the people inside them work toward a common goal, you can't accomplish that goal. There are statutory things regarding the coroner's office and the sheriff's and police departments as well as the state patrol. So the particulars are generally speaking governed by state statute and who's responsible for what. I would just add that my 17 years I've been able to develop wonderful working relationships with all of the law enforcement agencies in the county. So much though that in 2002, I believe it was, I was honored to receive the Robert Curtis Memorial Spirit Award, which is presented by the Southeastern Colorado Law Enforcement Association for my service to the community. So that's where I stand on my relationships with law enforcement.
Okay. Eric?
As far as law enforcement goes, I have a lot of experience, personal, and it's I've 20 years of experience working as a paramedic out in the field, working on an ambulance, hand in hand with law enforcement on a daily basis. Still to this day, even though I am still a paramedic working on a helicopter, I still interact with law enforcement on a daily basis. Not only that, being a SWAT paramedic too. I'm a member of the Pueblo County Sheriff's SWAT team. I'm working with law enforcement literally almost on a daily basis. So I feel that my qualifications as far as an investigator and everything else are going to be most appropriate because of my experience.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that, Brian? Okay. Eric, anything else? Okay. Eric, you'll answer this one next. Everyone knows one of the most difficult tasks of the coroner's office involves notification of next of kin. In cases such as homicides or traffic accidents, that task can be especially difficult. Will you be doing some of those, most of those, or assigning those to deputy coroners? And could you talk for a minute about your personal approach to how you would notify next of kin?
Okay. Being a deputy coroner, that is one of my duties, making notification to next of kin. And that's, you're right, that is probably one of the most difficult parts of the job. It can be very heart-wrenching, but it is a necessary part of our job. I think that there are a lot of different ways to approach that. I also do a lot of the same thing work as a paramedic as well, taking care of patients, and sometimes that may not work out in the end for the best, and being there for the families and being able to support them and show some compassion, and it's like you said, it's probably the toughest part of the job, but I really feel that my love for the people and treating everyone just as if they were family really is something that makes me feel good, that I'm able to help those people and their worst day, the worst time of their need.
Brian?
Notification of the next of kin is, yeah, it is a very delicate situation and a very difficult part of the job. In my current responsibilities, I don't do that. However, the fact that's put me at probably somewhere close to 2,600 death scenes in the last 17 years and more than that going on means that I'm there when it happens quite often. And on the professional side of it, I have been placed in that situation more times than I care to be. Not as many as a coroner's deputy would in that